And gentlemen, finally, I am giving you guys my review of Gotham Season 5. I know, this has been a long time coming. The show ended back in April of last year, and yet here I am, in October of 2020. I have finally reviewed Gotham. Finally had the time, finally remembered, and yeah, man. So like I said back in my DC Thoughts of DC Fandom video, I was gonna rewatch whenever. Well, first I said the week after SEO, but then I completely forgot about that. I was just trying to find the time to work on this. Found the time, and so yeah, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Finally finished. Finally rewatched the last episode, and yeah, man. So overall, I thought Gotham Season 5 was excellent. Was an excellent finale to the series, and I just loved it. I've mentioned this ad nauseum, but I absolutely loved this series, man. I've mentioned this countless times, and once again, this shows me that. Now, I would not say that this was better than Season 4. I think that was like the pinnacle of Gotham. That was Gotham at its peak. That was peak Gotham. Right there, ladies and gentlemen. That was peak Gotham right there. Of course, the Killing Joke and a bunch of other things. I thought that was the peak of Gotham. And Season 5, I thought overall did a really great job of finishing it up, tying up a lot of the things, even though I don't think it did the greatest. Now, did the greatest job of like concluding this series. It was overall good, but I feel like the conclusion, more specifically the final episode, could have been a bit better, if I'm being real with y'all, but hey, whatever. Anyway, without further adu, let's just jump right in. So the cast includes Ben McKenzie, David Mazuzu, I don't even know how to say his last name, Cameron Biangdavan, that's how you say it, Robin Lord Taylor, Corey Michael, Sean Pertwee, Aaron Richards, Donald Lounge, and many more. And of course, the plot of Season 5 of Gotham is, of course, taking place after the events of Gotham Season 4. Gotham is at pretty much a complete anarchy. They have been cut off from pretty much civilization as a whole, and it's fallen into different and Gotham has fallen into different sectors controlled by different people. One by Joker, the GCPD, etc. Obviously, now, in case you guys did not know, this is based off the No Man's Land comic book story arc from the Batman comics, which I believe actually the Dark Knight Rises also dabbled a little bit in there, but this one goes a lot more in depth and goes all in with it. Now, of course, the pros. Obviously, like in pretty much all of the seasons of Gotham, well, I guess you would say since Season 3, the cast is fantastic. I've mentioned this ad nauseum in my first impressions video I did fucking early last year, for my first impressions video, and I'm sure some other videos I've done, and probably reactions to the trailers or whatnot, that the cast is fantastic in the series, and that 90% of the characters in the show are my favorite interpretation of that character. You asked me pretty who was my favorite interpretation of a Batman character. 9 times out of 10, I'll probably give you a character from Gotham. Jim Gordon, Gotham. Bruce Wayne, Gotham. Catwoman, no question, Gotham. Riddler, Gotham. Penguin, Gotham. Joker is the only one where you're kind of 50-50 on it, but that's only because you got Heath Ledger. And now Joaquin Phoenix, although, whether you not really want to consider Joaquin Phoenix a great Joker when he's only on screen for like the last 10 minutes of the Joker solo film or whatever, but regardless of such, he is fantastic as Joker. But yeah, man. What's his name actually? Oh yeah, Cameron Monaghan, I think they say, who's funny enough in the fucking Star Wars game, Fallen Order. Funny how we keep having Star Wars characters play the Joker. Mark Hamill, he played Luke Skywalker when he's in Joker, and now we got Cameron, who was in Jedi Fallen Order, playing the Joker in Gotham. But yeah, man, the cast once again is phenomenal. Cameron is, of course, great as a Joker, but we'll go more in depth with him in a minute. Ben McKenzie is fantastic as Jim Gordon. David is great as Bruce Wayne as always. He's been so good as Bruce Wayne. And Cameron, my God, she is Catwoman. She is Catwoman. I don't give a damn what anybody says. She is Catwoman. She is definitely the best interpretation of that character by a long shot. And like the rest of the cast is also really good. I've already mentioned Robin. Taylor is great as the Riddler. Corey is, or Penguin, I should say. Corey is great as the Riddler, etc., etc., etc. So the cast once again is fantastic. One thing I actually noticed when I rewatched the show, actually when I went back and when I rewatched the last episode, this show was actually very well shot. At least the final episode was. It was a very well shot episode. I thought it looked really, really good. Of course, the biggest thing that I got to talk about is of course the Joker. We finally, at the end of Cameron Monaghan's performance as the Joker, or Jerome Valeska and Jeremiah Valeska. We mentioned, so as we saw in the ending of season 4, we got introduced to, I believe, Jeremiah Valeska, who was, of course, the twin brother of, I think it was Jerome. That was the original one. I'm getting their names up inside. The twin brother. We introduced to Jerome, or Jeremiah's twin brother, who helped Bruce out around the end of season 4, but eventually became the Joker. And I think I mentioned this in my other videos, but the Joker we saw in season 4, and High Toss Skills has popped up this in his video, like why you should watch Gotham or whatever. It was such a different take on the Joker, with him being like not so much like ha 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 ha, oh it's funny, like all laughing, but being super serious and all that shit. It was such a dramatic shift than pretty much everyone else who's played the character, that it was shocking that it went in that direction, and it worked beautifully. Cameron did such an amazing job with the role, with the limited time he was given in the last 2-3 episodes of Gotham season 4, I think it was, where we got to see Jerome or Jeremiah. He was absolutely fantastic. And of course, throughout season 5, at least the majority of season 5, we get to see him a lot more in depth, and he is once again fantastic as always. Like legit, outside of Heath Ledger, and hell, you could even make the argument that he might be better than Heath Ledger. He is the best interpretation of the Joker since Heath Ledger at the very least. I would put him over Joaquin Phoenix, although I don't even know if it's really fair to compare him, because he was mostly Arthur and then became Joker like the last 10 minutes of the film. But not without counting Joker, he is without a doubt at least the best Joker we've got since Heath Ledger. He is absolutely fantastic as Joker, and he does such an amazing job with this role. Now, one thing I also got to mention is that actually, you guys might remember, I probably mentioned this in my first impressions video, but the episode started off with Gotham, when you had where you had Gordon with Harvey and the rest of the Gotham PD all suited up in these armors, and they're defending defending their section, their district of the city, and they got this wall and right from this, they're just unloading on everybody on the ground. Unload on everyone's that's coming to try and invade them. I think I mentioned this in my first impressions video, that I thought that was going to be in the open, probably in the first, I think I said 5 episodes. I think I might have said that, or I didn't think, I thought it was going to be midway through the series. So we'll get to that point, and then afterwards it was in. And if my memory serves correct, like I said, I only rewatched the last episode. I didn't go back and rewatch the whole series again, because frankly I wouldn't have the time to. I'm pretty sure that didn't happen until around the end of the series, actually. Whereas when we finally got back to that point that they were at the beginning of the episode, before it got the time jump backwards to right when it first started happening and all that shit. So that was actually kind of interesting. Of course, we also got introduced to some new characters in this season. Bane and Harley Quinn are two of the biggest ones, obviously. I thought overall those two were pretty good. I wouldn't go far and say, oh yes, that was the greatest interpretation of Bane I've ever seen. Or I would say that's the greatest interpretation of Harley Quinn I've ever seen on film, on TV or whatever. But overall, I thought they both did admirable jobs with those characters. Not as great as the rest of the cast member, which I mentioned before. Pretty much all of them, at least the main cast members we've done since season 1, are pretty much my favorite interpretation of those characters. But but they were still solid in their own right. What else? I liked how we had one thing I did like. This is where I'm going to talk about the final episode a little bit. So there's going to be some minor spoilers right here. But I really dug the fact in the final episode we actually had Jim Gordon rocking the caterpillar mustache. It honestly didn't look good on him, but I'm glad that they at least did it for at least like the opening I want to say 20 minutes of the first episode, maybe 10 minutes of the first episode. Or the last episode of season 5, he rocked it before he shaved it off, which I thought, he looks better clean shaved, but it was nice that they actually did it anyway, and just had a little extra bit of fan service, which I appreciated. Yeah, I think it's about, one thing I gotta mention is I really dug this subplot they had that was one that was probably like the main thing going on throughout most of the earlier part of the season. Besides what was going on with Jim Gordon and Bruce with the Joker and all that shit, was you had the Riddler going on around, looking all over, waking up in different parts of Gotham as he's trying to figure out why this is happening, what is this going on, and all this other shit. He's trying to figure out why he's been moving to all these different places, and why that's going down. Is he sleepwalking? Where is he going? He's trying to figure out all the right. And when we actually figure out the reason and how this all went down, it was actually pretty cool. And which I definitely did like. I like that they actually, how they did that whole thing. I thought that subplot right there that went throughout most of the earlier part of the season was done really well. And I think that's about all I can think about for positives of the show. Overall, like I said, the season was fantastic. Not a good season 4, but a solid season in its own right. So let me get into some of the flaws I had with series. Now, the only real problem I had with this series, at least from what I can remember, was definitely the final episode. Now, don't get me wrong, the final episode was overall really damn good. I thought it did a decent job, and I think it was overall a solid episode. But the problem with it is, it felt, at least to me anyway, not as conclusive as it should. It was a lot of the same thing that Bleach actually suffered with when it ended, where the ending kind of felt a bit rushed and inconclusive, more or less setting up a sequel series that we don't know if ever happened, which kind of happens the same way with this year, with the final episode of this season as well. It did a decent job, but I felt like they could have done a better job of concluding everything. It doesn't feel as conclusive as it should, and it kind of keeps the door open for a sequel series that we may never get. But that's about really the only problem I can think about that I had with season 5. Like I said before, this was a fantastic season of Gotham and a great way to end this fantastic series going on for 5 seasons. I loved it. I'm sure all of you loved it, man, and I can't sing this show's praises enough. So I'll give you guys my final verdict, and then we'll go into a small spoilers discussion where I'll talk about some of the other things that I also really enjoyed about this season, and, I'll end the video off. So overall, I am going to give Gotham Season 5 a 10 out of fucking 10, ladies and gentlemen. This was a fantastic series, a fantastic season, and a great way to end the show off. So, of course, we're not going to jump into spoiler discussion, so if you guys don't want to get spoiled for whatever reason, you guys still haven't seen the final season or whatever, click on the video right now. So, let's get right into the spoiler discussion. So, one of the ones that I really dug, like I mentioned before, was that subplot with Edward Nigma trying to figure out why he's been waking up in these different locations, and him kind of retracing his steps and trying to figure out what's going on. Which I like this one where he was hooked up to a makeshift electric chair with these rednecks or whatever, which I thought was pretty cool. But one that I actually really did like was that it was actually the work of Hugo Strange, which I loved Hugo Strange's series as well. I thought he also was another fantastic character in this series. The whole cast overall has been fantastic overall. It's just such a great show. But I really dug that it was all Hugo Strange doing, and he applied this chip into him, which is why we also figured out that he was actually the one behind who blew up this. I want to say it was maybe an apartment complex or a child or a hospital or something that had a bunch of the injured civilians that made it to the GCPD zone that got blown up in flames. A lot of people were trying to figure out also who did that. Was it Victor Zsasz? Amongst other things. Who was it? And when I found out that was actually the Riddler, I thought it was actually pretty cool, and how it all worked out in the end, how it all came together. I thought it was really cool. The Jane Doe storyline, which I think was for an episode, maybe 2, I thought was overall really good. Was also very good as well. I thought that was also another nice little mini arc that we got in a couple episodes, or maybe one episode. I thought that was like definitely one of the better side stories we've gotten from the Gotham series as a whole. It was fantastic. Um, we also had the return of Lee Tompkins, which I thought was really cool to see her back when we did actually. I think I want to say midway through the season, because you guys remember back in season 4, I want to say she was working like this underground like wrestling, like this underground like wrestling thing, like with this criminal gang or whatever. And she like helped towards the end. She like dyed her hair black, I think, and she was working for the criminal underworld. And that's where we also had Solomon Grundy and a few other pieces. And I think at the end of at that little arc or whatever from season 4, she went off and went to some other location. Well, now we found that she got back. I think she got there before like the bridges exploded or whatever. She got there like earlier on the season, or earlier on before it all went to hell, and we saw her later on in the season. So it was nice that we actually saw her going on there, and we actually had like this mini, I don't know if you want to call it a love triangle, but the relationship between Lee Tompkins, Jim Gordon, as well as Barbara. Now, you guys know, I can't stand love triangles. They never work for me. Like, the biggest example, obviously, is Wolverine, Jean Grey, and Cyclops. I feel like that has long overstayed its welcome, especially now, because it's still been a thing, and, well, not anymore, really, in the comics, because it looks like they just decide, fuck it, we'll just make them, like, a poly relationship or whatever, or what have you. But regardless of stuff, in the movies, it overstayed its welcome for far too long. But regardless of stuff, but it actually kind of worked here because midway through the season, I believe, I've been saying midway through the season a lot, but I'm pretty sure this actually was midway through the season, or at least around the end of it, we find out that actually Barbara was pregnant with Jim's daughter. How that happened, I don't know. They never explained that part, when that happened, because she went crazy in, like, what? Season 2? I think that was when she went crazy, and they kind of went, and she became doing the whole lesbians thing with that one chick, and before she died off in the first episode of season 5, and she was running this criminal organization or whatever. I think that was season 2 was when she went on the demon. It might have been midway through season 1. I'm not sure. Either way, it's been a while. So, I don't know how that happened. But regardless of such, I thought the relationship between those three and what happened afterwards with Lee, of course, with Jim, of course, marrying Lee, and them kind of like just working together, raising the child and everything, I thought was overall good. And I like that they actually pulled the trigger on Bruce and Selena. Like, I want to say that was actually at Jim's wedding, thank God, because I did ship those two, and I was like, for the love of God, come on, pull the trigger, and they did. Which I was happy about, because I thought I was like, yes! Pretty sure I live tweeted about that when the episode aired. If you guys want to go check my tweets from when the episodes aired, my live tweets from when the episodes were airing. But I like that whole scene with the wedding and everything, and I really dug the relationship. That's probably like the one time I've saw like a love triangle, if you want to say, actually work. But yeah. What else we got? I already mentioned Lee Tompkins. The final episode I already saw was pretty cool. Where we actually saw, of course we saw with the caterpillar. Mustache. We also saw Barbara with red hair. Let me talk about the Batsuit actually real quick. Overall, I thought the Batsuit was pretty good. Like, it's not the greatest Batsuit I've ever seen, but it was fine from like a little bit. It reminded me a lot of the Batsuit of Batman Begins actually. When I saw it again, and actually, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I actually, when I went back and rewatched the last episode, I liked it actually a bit more than I did when I first watched the episode all those many months ago. So, yeah, I really dug that. So, like the Batsuit overall, I thought was pretty cool. Like I said before, it gave me a lot of Batman Begins vibes. Yeah, man, I think that's all I can really discuss. Really, I already mentioned Harley Quinn. I thought was pretty good. Bane, I thought was solid as well. And yeah, man. But one thing I gotta say, I like the girl that they got who played Selena at like the last episode of season 5. Of course, the original two, Cameron and David, I believe his name was, right? Did not come back and reprise the role. At least it didn't look like. At least because I doubt he came back and did the whole thing with the Batsuit in season 5. At least in the final, or the Batsuit season in the last episode, because we actually saw like this like a clip going on around the guy that was actually the Batsuit, so we got a closer look at it. I thought, like I said before, it looked pretty good. But yeah, neither of them returned for the final episode because, 10-year time skip, which was also like Bleach because I also did a decent-sized time skip before it ended. And, I thought that the girl they actually got playing Catwoman was really good. She actually looks exactly like Cameron, just a bit old, just looks a little bit older, Yeah, man, I think that's all I really got to say about Gotham Season 5. Overall, I thought it was like I said before, I thought it was a fantastic season and a great way as a great send-off to this series. I wish it kept going because apparently the show was actually supposed to go on for 7 seasons before it was cut short at 5. Don't know why. I don't know if the Disney merger had anything to do with that. Maybe it did. Maybe it did. I don't know. Regardless of such, I love this show, and I cannot recommend Gotham enough, guys. And low-key, honestly, I hope one day, maybe down the road, I would love to do like a series overview or like a series review of the entire Gotham series. Rewatch the show from start to finish and give you guys my thoughts. Maybe not maybe not season by season, but like one giant video where I just gush about the season, what I loved about this season, the second season, the third season, the fourth season. But Jesus Christ, I can go on and on about the fourth season, how great did the Killing Joke. But I've already said my piece on that. Anyway, guys, tell me down below what you guys thought of Gotham Season 5. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What'd you think of the final episode? Did you think it was a good ending for the series, or do you think did it kind of ruin the show for you? Did you think it could have been a lot better? Tell me that down below, guys, and hope y'all enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new, follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you like, links down in the description box below, and as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.